He's still alive. I'm sure of that, hiding just like a rat. That was from the Kathmandu, Nepal. That was brown sugar. That wasn't Thai number 4 like you find in Thailand. And at some point, he started asking me about my contact in Thailand. He had gone to tell the RCMP, and when he gave them my birth date and my last name, the criminal record that thick came out. It didn't belong to me.
Welcome back to the Broken Home Podcast. Thank you all for joining us. Tonight, we have a very special guest. This is Alain Olivier, and he has one hell of a story that involves not only police corruption, but also having to spend 8 years in a Thai prison. With that being said, how you doing today, Alain?
I'm okay. I mean, after everything I've been through since I came back to Canada, even if I had to face many hurdles, foremost with the government and my lawsuit and everything, and being on probation for until 2014, I was on probation. I couldn't even get out of town without any authorization. Couldn't hang out in any bar. Couldn't drink beer. I couldn't do sweet nothing. After being chained and wearing shackles for 42 months over there, and I got a picture of that. Whenever I got a little down, and I'm looking at the picture for a moment, and I see things could be worse, and just keep going.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true.
No, I'm happy. Every morning I wake up, it's a gift because supposed to be dead, first of all.
That's true. That's true. They had you marked for death over there.
Yeah, I got sentenced to death, and then the court commuted my sentence to 100 years life imprisonment in exchange of my guilty plea. It was August 15, 1990. I was sentenced to death before the Thai court, and I went back to the cell, to the bullpen, and about an hour later, I was called back before the court, and the judge told me, says, if you plead guilty, I will commute your sentence down to a life imprisonment. And over there, knowing that you're going down through a firing squad, you'll see picture on my website at Alainolivier.ca of the death chamber over there. I mean, there was that, and the fact foremost that my mother was sick. So I decided to plead guilty to avoid at least having a rating that I was sentenced to death in a third world country.
What was just day one of going to a prison there? Can you walk us through?
Oh, yeah. When I got to Bambat prison, it was a detention center prior to be sentenced. I spent 18 months over there. The first thing we got to see when we walked out of that was like a Bluebird bus, like a school bus. No windows, only bars in all the windows. And we would be like 100 guys in there standing up. Half of them were junkies and in a state of withdrawal and puking everywhere. And when you get out of the bus, you ended up before a big gray door and with a couple towers with guards with guns. And up and walking out of the bus, there was a dead body over the fence because some guy tried to escape and they shot him, and they would leave the body there for a couple days to make sure people see it and to give an example. They don't fair around over there. You got barbed wires and everything, and we were taken inside. As soon as we walked in, they got all our shoes taken off. When we got our shoes taken off, they bring us in the big cage like you would put lions and tigers in, with big iron bars, and that was to take our shoes off, because when you get there, they take all the shoes. So that's why sometime every day you see guards with new shoes in their feet. But it's the first step also to submit a person. When you put a person barefoot like that, and then they walk us inside, and the first thing I've seen there was 6 guy getting beat up to pulp by a skinhead who was one guard who was totally hairless due to sickness when he was a kid, and just beating up with a bamboo stick until their back was purple, yellow, and blue, for the only reason that they forgot to salute him when they walked in. For heaven's sake, they couldn't see him. He was hiding behind the door. That was to teach another lesson to all the other new prisoners you better look all around, because you have to pay respect to the guards, and just beat the shit out of them. And he gave me a big speech also, but in some ways, the thing that did help me all over the prison in Thailand, according to what they were told by the RCMP, I was the head of a big mob organization over here, dealing big amount of heroin, and also a cop was killed during the operation. So when I got there, nobody there doing anything bad to me from the start. I got bad from Skinhead would have liked it because I kept staring at him in his eyes, and he didn't like it. The Thais never look at the guards in the eyes. And after that, that was 18 months over there, 20 times in court, and seen people getting beaten up on a daily basis, people getting beat up to death. Others were suicide. When they took me, after seeing those guys being beat up, they took me under the stairs over the blacksmith to get the shackles on. So they put like near 10 kilos, about 8 kilos of iron around my ankles, chains and shackles. This is pretty much when I stopped believing in any kind of religion. I say, no, God does not exist, because he wouldn't do that. I've seen people changing religion 3-4 times while they were facing the death sentence. I believe in life. I believe in being good to others. This is what I believe in. Being kind to others, and life will give it back to you at some point.
Absolutely.
And all the time I've been through prison, beginning was hard because I went through a cold turkey over there. Inside the prison, you're 100 prisoners. Half of the cell were chains and shackles. You sleep on the side with a hole in the middle of the cell with no walls where you shit and piss. You can see pictures on my website that I put in the section, pictures in Thailand. You will see the shackles they put on people and the chains, and you will see the cells over there. Now with the media, it's much easier. At the time that I went to trial, there was no picture from inside Thailand prison.
Didn't an RCMP officer take a picture of you in your shackles?
Yeah, this was on November 21st, 1989, when they came to testify in Thailand. Bennett and Fatman testified on November 14, and Girdlestone on the 21st. He was there waiting for me before the Thai court, and he had his camera. I was crossing the street barefoot with almost 40 pounds of iron around my ankles, and he was taking pictures, and he said that it was for his album Souvenirs for the RCMP. And then when I filed suit, I forced him to produce that picture, and it became the cover of my book. I'm from a small town. I'm from Drummondville, Quebec. I hit the road working in the bush. I work on the construction. I started to go on the road with a bunch of my friends who played in various rock bands, and we tour all around Quebec. And at some point, I decided to move over the West Coast, over Vancouver, and I thought being there only a couple months. And when I got there, it was so beautiful in Vancouver, with the sunshine and everything coming up, and I ended up staying over there. And basically, I thought I found my Garden of Eden over there. Moved over there, and I started to work as a tree planter after that. And after my first year of tree planting all across British Columbia, I ended up traveling over Southeastern Asia. I went to Hong Kong, I went to Thailand, Malaysia, I went to Burma, and I went to Nepal. And after that, I came back here after some 3 months over there. And I traveled over there with a guy I was planting trees with. We decided to go over there, and when I got back from Kathmandu in February 87, I was totally junked out. I was doing a few grams of brown sugar a day. And even in Thailand, I mean, I could do, when I stopped using drugs, I'll get back to that, but I could go up to 3, 4, 5 grams of pure Thai number 4 a day. So I was about 115 pounds, and I got sick for months, 14 days without sleep. And training after that.
Because you met a lot of people in your travels. How did you meet Glenn Howard Barry? And can you tell the listeners who he is and
Yeah.
what he had to do with where you ended up going in your story next?
When I got back from my trip from Kathmandu and I arrived in Gibson's Landing, I had a bunch of friends at the pub waiting for me. I brought them back a few gifts from Nepal and from around Asia, little things, little statue and sculptures and stuff. And before leaving Kathmandu, I brought back like between 5 and 7 grams of brown sugar. I brought back here with me. I was pretty hooked up back at the time because after 90 days over doing a lot of heroin that didn't cost anything. The first time I did heroin, I thought I met my epiphany because all of a sudden with that, it's like there was no stress, no this, no that. I mean, I could face any situation, and contrary to many people who will start nodding out, I don't do that. I don't nod out. It's like it cranks me up. It's pretty strange. I've met a guy in prison, an Australian guy who used to shoot a gram at the time every 2 hours, spend 80 grand US a year inside the prison just to shoot.
Wow.
So when I started doing it, when I got back to Gibson, I was pretty hooked up, and those few grams that I brought back with me over there, that was for my own use and to calm down before getting on the inevitable cold turkey. This is what at the pub I met Glenn Barry. Jean-Marie Leblanc was his real name. He was also called John Glenn, and for Operation Deception, that was Glenn Howard Barry. A friend of mine who was at the pub, a good friend, said, "Hey, Alan, we just met that French guy over New Year, just arrived here with his boat, and he had taken a bunch of my friends on his boat already, and then I didn't really feel like talking to him because with the old trip back over here needed to go to sleep, but finally he came to my table and he says, "Hi, my name is Glenn Barry." And the first thing he says is, "I never trust a guy who doesn't drink." That's an old quote from John Wayne in one of his old movies. And I think that was one of his idol or something. And this is when I shake the hand of the devil, basically. And without me knowing it, it took me on a hell of an adventure that is not even over yet after 33 years, 34 years.
Did you not have suffer an injury where you almost lost your left eye?
And yeah, this is right after my return, and this is when Glenn Barry invited me to go live on his boat because I was working on my old Harvester 63 big Suburban, and I was changing the bearings on the back wheel, and when I slammed the hammer on the donut over there, there's a little chip of iron that came right through my eye, and I ended up at the hospital for like 9 days, plugged up with bottles and everything. Got lucky and I didn't lose my eye, so I still have it. But when I got back to Gibson from the hospital, when I got home on the farm I stayed on, the owner of the place was there, and he announced me that the place had been sold and I had to move. I didn't have any place to stay. I had gone through a big cold turkey just before that when I stopped. My cold turkey wasn't over yet. Then I decided to go in the bush and over Chilliwack to work on a tree planting contract to clear me up. And it did help out because I sweated out on the slope. And after the accident, when I got, like I said, when I got home, I didn't have any place to stay. And Glenn Barry invited me to live on his boat. I thought that I met a good friend. I already had done heroin with him on his boat and cocaine. And when I saw him doing brown sugar with me, I gave him a few lines. And it's like it wasn't the first time. He was a special character. And he's still alive. I'm sure of that, hiding just like a rat. From then on, I became his associate in the Gibson Charter boat and brokerage. And we were taking people out fishing salmon every day. Like I said, I became his associate, and he knew about my trip over Nepal. And I remember on his boat, the first time I went on his boat, he says, "I heard that you brought back some heroin from Asia. And except for a couple of friends who were nodding out because they tried it when I got back at some point, and he told me that. He said, I don't want anything to happen to you because you seem to be like a nice guy. And I felt like maybe I'd find my big brother and someone I could, he offered me even to work with him and everything, a place to stay. And I said, great, great, great. And at some point, he started asking me about my contact in Thailand. And I told him I don't have any contact. The only contact I have over there were tuk-tuk drivers. And I told him also, I said, the urine that you did with me on your boat, that was from the Kathmandu, Nepal. That was brown sugar. That wasn't Thai number 4 like you find in Thailand. And but then meanwhile, he had gone to tell the RCMP that I was running all the heroin on the West Coast. And when he gave them my birth date and my last name, the criminal record that thick came out, and it didn't belong to me.
Yeah.
They mistaken me for someone else. And that person, I mean, I didn't know yet. I didn't know that. I only found out when I came back 8.5 years after that they mistaken me for someone else. From then on, the RCMP were sure that the information they got from Glenn Barry, that was solid like a rock, because he was working for them as an informant for many years. And for Operation Deception, he started to work as a civil agent, which is a level higher than informant. He gets paid for each target convicted at the end of the operation. For Operation Deception, he got paid $120,000 tax-free. Said that they busted $17 million worth of heroin. They said that 15 million out of those 17 million was the drug that they busted with me in Thailand. I didn't have anything in Thailand. And it was just to keep going from where we were. From then on, the RCMP thought that they had found a big fish. They started an operation with Glenn Barry, and he started to hook up with everyone he could in Gibson's, even people who were not dealing drugs. He got even his brother-in-law busted for 4 ounces of pot, Mike Willingham, and Willingham won his case over entrapment. The judge came to the conclusion that Glenn Barry uses his friendship to entice his brother-in-law to sell him 4 ounces of pot. And it was already known through the evidence that Willingham wasn't even making $1 on that. That was a favor. So that made jurisprudence, and that's very important for what happened after that when I came back here, when I filed suit against the RCMP, because the court ignored jurisprudence. They just closed their eyes to it. They never mention it. But like I said, after that, it's been on for 18 months that I was threatened. When I first met Glenn Barry's friend on the beach over Roberts Creek, the first thing they said, Glenn told us that you brought back a few hundred grams of heroin from Thailand. And I said, is that so? I never did that. But Barry, just before, he says, don't make me lose face with these guys. And I told him I couldn't help them out. I told them I only know tuk-tuk drivers over there. Bennett, that was Dennis Massey, said we expected you that you wouldn't talk to us because it's the first time we meet, and we like it that way. Would have been otherwise, I would have been worried. And they left after that, and they said we'll be in touch. I said, be in touch. I don't have anything to do with them, and also I didn't expect to see them after that.
Those were actual government agents.
We were RCMP, yeah. Upon our first meeting, Dennis Massey said that he wanted to buy 10 kilos of heroin. This is what he told me. And after that, they went on to offer me 10% of the amount that they were to buy over there, bring it back home on my doorstep. And they knew I was a junkie. So that would have been like a kilo of heroin just to introduce them to a source, but I didn't have any source. I couldn't do anything. But they kept at it because Glenn Barry made them believe throughout the operation that they were on the right guy. The week after I met Barry Bennett and Dennis Massey from RCMP Division in Vancouver, Barry Bennett came to over Gibson's, and he was coming to borrow the boat. I stayed on. He was coming to borrow the boat for a couple of days, and I said, I don't mind. I'm just going to go stay over my girlfriend. So there was no problem with that. And when he arrived over Gibson, he was with a tall, skinny guy. No words were exchanged. I only told them that the weather would be nice over the weekend and this and so on, and not a word. And they jumped on the boat. And the only thing Bennett said to Glenn Barry says, I'll call you tomorrow night, Saturday night. By Saturday night, the phone rang in the office because our charter business, charter fishing business was right on the dock at the marina. The phone rang and Glenn Barry answered the phone, and that was Barry Bennett. And Glenn Barry was telling him, did you dig a hole in him to make sure that he will go down the Georgia Strait and that he would sink to the bottom? And then he started laughing, and I told myself, that must be a joke. Sunday morning, I was at the marina, but a little before 9 o'clock, and I waited for the boat to arrive. And when the boat arrived, I went right at the berth and grabbed the line and started to tie the boat to the dock. And I was looking inside the boat, and there was no sign of the tall, skinny guy. That was a small boat, a sangster. You couldn't even stand in the boat because it was like 5'5" headroom. So I couldn't really see inside until Bennett walks out, and he bumped into me, and he just stared at me in the eyes without saying a word. And he kept on his way to go see Glenn Barry, who was standing by the door of the office. And I started looking inside the boat. I couldn't see the tall guy. I say, fuck, what's going on? And then I stepped in. I could see splatters of blood around the boat. And then after that, I looked down on the floor. I found one empty casing of 9mm. And then I turned around the other way. I found another one, a second empty casing. So I grabbed both casing. And I went to see Glenn Barry. After that, I was shocked. I was shaken. So what's going on? We're running a business here, fishing business. So I went to see Glenn Barry. And as I got there, Barry Bennett was already on his motorbike over the parking lot, and he was taken off. And when I got there and I showed the empty casing to Glenn Barry, say, what the fuck's going on? What is this? Like I said, we're running a business. And this is when he pushed me back, and he says, you better not say a word about this, otherwise the same thing will happen to you.
Oh, wow.
Wow. And you were in your 20s at this time, correct?
I was 27 at the time when this occurred. I was about to be 28. And I was a little naive. I was a peace and love kind of guy, and I never had any trouble with the law in any manner in my life, not even a jaywalking ticket, nothing. And all of a sudden, I ended up being the target number one, target 1A, they call in their jargon. 1A target is the highest level that you can have in Canada. And usually these are chief of gang, the Hells Angels, the Asian Triads, and you name it, street gangs, and only at the highest echelon, because they were asking for budget to undergo with a major operation. And when you open a major operation like they did, it only supposed to be pointed out at specific individuals who are way high up in the hierarchy of criminal organization and mafia and the mobs and whatever. Not a guy like me who was only a junkie. I didn't have a damn penny in my pocket, but the RCMP made their boss believe it. E-Division as well. And after that, their boss to Ottawa, that they had fallen on the big guy. And to get back to the murder scenario on the boat, over the spring 87, this is the first time that the Mr. Big tactic was taught to RCMP members by Peter March over RCMP E-Division. And some of the students of these type of operation were Barry Bennett, Dennis Massey, and Jacked Up, all the RCMP members who were in Operation Deception. And at the time, it wasn't called Mr. Big. In Operation Deception, the big guy, the Mr. Big, his name was Fat Man. And he was fucking big. He was 3 times my size. I mean, 300 pounds. He's a head and a drill like a cinder block. I mean... It lasted for 18 months. I remember after the murder scenario, I moved out of Gibson's to go work up the coast for a while, and Glenn Barry kept coming see me over there. It will be in my next book, but I'm telling you everything about that. And he just kept at it. And I decided after that to go see my mom and my dad for Christmas. I had not seen them for like 4 years, something like that. Glenn Barry didn't know where I was going, but he always told me, he says, wherever you go, we'll always find you. And I was having Christmas dinner with my family, and the phone rang at my mom and dad's place, and my sister answered the phone, and that was for me, so maybe one of my buddy from my hometown. No, that was Glenn Barry. Surprise, surprise. That's what he said on the phone.
Wow.
He says Merry Christmas, and I told him, I'm sure you're not calling me to wish me a Merry Christmas. He says, no. He says, no. He says, my friend, they wants to see you. Absolutely. You have to come back to Vancouver, so you won't tell me when I'm coming back. He says, if you don't want me to go over there to get you, or my friend go knock on your mom and dad's door, you better come back. So that went on like this for 18 months.
Wow.
And everything, all the evidence is there about all these things. The court, in the end, here, they ignored everything, I know we'll get back to that a little later, but it was a regime of terror all the time. Glenn Barry says it will break my legs and everything. And the second time I moved to Magog over here in Quebec, when I left BC, to work with my friend Michel, with whom I had traveled with before in Nepal and over Asia, and the guy who initiated me to heroin, in fact. I went up to work for his brother here in Magog. I think like 10 days or 15 days later, Barry Bennett showed up in Magog. And
wow.
Then, they managed to find me. Michel told them that we were going to work over there. We were working over Magog, and Michel, they already, without me knowing it, this is when I found out that Glenn Barry had traveled over Montreal, because Michel, after the tree planting season, I haven't seen him after that. He moved back to East, and I don't know what he was doing, but Glenn Barry got in touch with him. Our CMB members came to Montreal during the operation, and they got him to introduce them to some guy who was selling heroin here in Montreal, on Suze at the time, and more. And he got busted in the end, at the end of the operation. But myself, throughout 18 months of our CMP operation, they never bought any drugs from me. There's nothing. And according to all the document, I was a major heroin importer and trafficker, and also a big cocaine importer from Colombia. It's throughout all the documents. After they came to Magog, I was working on construction. I didn't have the money yet because I was still a junkie. I was doing heroin. And when they came back, they told me that was my last chance, because the fat man, their boss, was getting impatient. And just before I moved over there, Dennis Massey, with whom I had met on the beach of Roberts Creek with Barry Bennett, Glenn Barry told me, you won't see him anymore because Barry Bennett killed him, because he was out of line. So that was the second guy who was getting killed and disappeared. And Glenn Barry always told me about the murder scenario, that you want it or not, you're part of it. In any case, I had already moved the empty bullets. I was like accessory to murder now.
Yeah.
Yep.
For all that time, this is what I believed. October 88, when they came here in Magog, after that, I went to a traveling agent, and I signed a check for a plane ticket over Thailand, but there was no found in my account. So it was a rubber check. So I went to Thailand, and I went to get them a sample of heroin over there. And when I got back here, they took the plane again to come all the way over here. And when they arrived in Magog, they were driving a big white Lincoln Townville car, all white. I mean, just like big guys. There were 4 of them the last time. And I think the smallest was perhaps 270 pounds.
So how did that RCMP operation end for you?
After they came back the second time over Magog, and I gave them a half-gram sample of heroin from Thailand. And when I didn't have any contact, I went to Thailand to pick up a sample. The only thing I had in my hand was the picture of a tuk-tuk driver that a guy in Montreal knew, and it's all I had. And I went to Chiang Mai, knock on the door at it was called the Porn Hotel, and the tuk-tuk driver was sleeping in his rickshaw right before the door. I mean, that guy was pedaling all day long to earn a living. But according to the RCMP, that was a major source of heroin that was also responsible for many shipments of heroin to Thailand, from Thailand to Canada. None of it was true. The people they met in Thailand when we got there were peasant. That's all they were. They were living in a slum, for Christ's sakes. And when they got there to deal with that guy, everyone called him Porn. That was his nickname. I introduced him to them, and they were supposed to do business with his sister. In all the document, they were aiming at his sister. She was a hairdresser in the slum. I mean, she wasn't a part of any triads or anything like that. She was a poor person, girl, but she had contacts, and it was just like perhaps pretty much everyone in Chiang Mai. She refused to deal with them. And she took me in one room, and she says, Alan, and she said, your friends are cops. I said, they cannot be cops, for heaven's sakes. I mean, they already killed a guy on my boat. They already killed another one after that. I said, these guys are killing people for a living. They cannot be cops. And she said, oh, I won't do business with them. Which angered these guys. And they were pretty pissed off when we got back to the hotel, because all of a sudden they were to return back home empty-handed. The operation already cost $1 million before that of taxpayers' money, including 120 grand for Glen Barry, tax-free. I went to see Porn, and I told him, I said, can you do something else? I know other people in Chiang Mai, and we're going to fix a meeting tomorrow. So they met a couple other guys. It didn't work out because Fat Man wanted to do the deal absolutely in a public place. And the Thais, there was no way that they were to do that. Not over there. The Fat Man was angry again because two other contacts that Porn had refused to deal with them because they didn't want to do the deal in the public place like the Fat Man was asking. And they were about to pack up and come back when Porn came back to the hotel room, and he says, I got another friend, a girl, she's downstairs. She's got a couple of kilos right now. And if everything worked out fine, we'll do another 3 in the next hour. The Fat Man, he says, yeah, but we want to do it in a public place. And that little Thai girl, she was like 5 foot, 80 pounds. She proposed to do the deal in a parking lot near the hotel. There was a big parking lot with a big theater with a big sign that was Rambo at the time. Fat Man decided that to have Flanagan coming with me to go look at the place and come back to the hotel to pick up the money if it was all right. And Flanagan jumped in the truck with me. A scooter followed us with Nipa's brother, who was carrying the drug. And she took us to the parking lot, and Flanagan looked around, and he seems pleased with that. He says, you better make sure that these things work out. that was another warning. Just like Glen Barry, before I left, the RCMP left me alone with him in Vancouver before I take the plane in my hotel room. And he was there to pass me a message also that he was to kill me if it didn't work out. And then once over there, we went to get the money, me and Nipa, and we came back to the parking lot with Bennett and Jim Girdlestone, another RCMP agent. And once we got to the parking lot, Nipa says, let's go over here in the back street under the light. It was like, I don't know, a few hundred feet away, maybe a couple blocks. Big back alley, but there was only one light. There was no light except for that. So we started walking, and Bennett didn't want to. And once Flanagan went with me and Nipa under the lamppost with her little pickup truck. She parked her truck there. I said, yeah, that will do. And he went to tell Bennett how things were over there. Bennett asked Jim Girdlestone to stay a couple blocks away, just waiting. And he got the money from him, and he started walking to the little Nissan pickup truck. Once he got there, Nipa asked him to show him the money. So he opened the passenger door, which is the opposite of here, and he had half of his body inside, and he asked Flanagan, have you seen the drug yet? And Flanagan said, no, I hadn't seen it because Nipa's brother was hiding next to a fence with a lot of vegetation around him, so we couldn't even see him. It was dark, except for under the post. I think that was a 60-watt bulb that they had up there. That was the only light. And at some point, Nipa said, show me the money first. And Bennett unzipped the bag. And when Nipa saw the money in the bag, it was all wrapped up with duct tape. And she got pretty pissed off. And I saw that too. I was standing next to Bennett, and through the windshield, I could see that. And I told him to fuck off, and I told Nipa to stop that. But just before that, yeah, Bennett didn't want to shore the money. He said he wanted to see the drug first. And so she called out her brother to come to sit down, to stand in the back of the pickup truck in the cargo area. And at some point, when Bennett showed Nipa the money, and she saw that, Flanagan told him he's got the drug. And so Bennett says, let's take it down. And he started saying, police, police. Meanwhile, I was walking backward in slow motion when I heard police, police. I says, I can't believe it. It's not possible. And I was in shock. And Nipa just jumped out of her truck, and her little sister was standing next. There were three of them, two sisters, one brother. And the brother was in the back, and Flanagan made few strides, and he jumped overboard in the cargo area, and he grabbed the Thai guy to neutralize him. And the Thai guy started fighting. Was an ex Muay Thai boxer. It was pretty tough. When Nipa saw that, she also jumped in the back of the truck to help her brother. And after that, Bennett jumped in the back of the truck at his turn to go to try to get Nipa off Flanagan's back. When I saw Bennett jumping in the back, this is when I turned around and I started running. Nipa's sister, she went in the pickup truck to drive, and Girl Stone was coming the other way running, and just like a hound dog, and he tackled me, and I ended up at the bottom of the ditch, and the pickup took off, and it disappeared in the darkness, and all of a sudden we saw the brake light lighting up. But just before that, we heard a big bang in the back alley. There was no traffic. There was no one there. A bang, and we could hear it. We could hear the echo. Girl Stone said, where is your gun? Who the fuck has a gun? I said, no one has a gun. And the truck took off after that. The only thing we saw was the brake light lighting up after the bang. And then it went back only to red, and the truck left. When he pulled me up, he was screaming to get help from their backup. And there was no backup around. The Thai police wasn't there yet. There was no one. And at some point, maybe, I don't know, 45 seconds later, I don't know, couple Thai cop ended up rushing to the scene with their guns in their hand, and the girl's son was telling them, come here and grab him, put him in the handcuff. I have to go over there. And as he was handing me to the Thai police, I decided to take off and to run towards the parking lot where there would be some passerby and people would see me, because I feared to be shot in the back alley. And when Gordon Stone started screaming at the Thai police, shoot him. And the Thai police told him, he's got no weapon, he's not armed. And Gordon Stone said, I don't give a fuck, just shoot him. And at that point, when I turned around a little bit to look behind me, I could see the Thai cop with his 357 Browning in his hand, all silver. He was aiming at me, so I dove to the ground. And Gordon Stone came rushing to my face. He grabbed me on the ground, and they put the handcuff to me and walked me back towards the lamppost where the pickup truck was before that. And as they put me on the ground, and he started running towards where we had seen the brake light just prior after we heard the bang. And he had done, I don't know, maybe 5-10 meters when he left me, and he came across Barry Bennett holding on to Nipa in one hand and what seems to be a handgun in his other hand. Nipa was dropped next to me, and the Thai cop were holding on to her with handcuffs and everything. And he started running with Girdlestone towards where they heard the bang, and we had seen the brake light. And this is where Flanagan had fallen off the truck, according to them. He had fallen off while he was struggling with the Thai guy. After that, but it's what came out through the interrogation when I was taken to the police station. They had not found the drug yet, and the Thai police were running after the pickup truck. Still, Porn got arrested at the hospital where he was standing next to the door when they took Flanagan to the hospital. He was there, so when police recognized him, so they took him to the police station. They brought also a tuk-tuk driver that had nothing to do with it. The only reason they arrested him is because he had a picture of him with me in a restaurant while we were having a beer. The guy was a father of 3 kids, and he died 2 weeks before I came back here from tuberculosis. He had nothing to do with that. So,
Wow.
and during the interrogation, the first thing that Colonel Amarisrit Watanawibull asked us, he said, who shot the Canadian police? And he was speaking perfect English. He was speaking in Thai, and he was gesturing with his hand like if he had a gun. And I told him, none of us shot him. None of us had any gun. But they were under the impression that he had been shot. We were asked if we were shot, and Nipa's sister, when she was arrested, they asked her, which one of you shot the Canadian police, shot the Falang, the foreigner? So there was many things like this, and the Thais told me that Bennett, according to them, when he was trying to pull Nipa off Flanagan's back, he decided to try to stop the truck, and he wanted to keep Pim Pam from driving away. So he had hit the back windshield, the back window of the pickup truck with the butt of his gun, and the gun went off, and it struck Flanagan right in the head. Then he went overboard. That would be an accident. But the only thing we have to keep in consideration is that the RCMP don't have any ministerial authorization to go to operate in Thailand like they did. They did not. So that was a big point also. And the day after in Thailand, for the next 3 days, everywhere on radio, on TV, even the doctors at the hospital gave interview to the effect that Flanagan had been shot in the head, and that they had retrieved a bullet from the left side of his skull. All of a sudden, by Wednesday, General Bamroom Krai, who was the head of the BMNU, which is like the DEA in the United States, big narcotic bureau over there. The general went on TV after the news leaked that Flanagan had been shot, and he said there was no shot fired. The media were wrong, and that was the end of the story.
Oh my God.
When I ended up in prison that was April 7, 1989. They had a big royal inquiry, and even before being taken to prison, for 2 days, they did the reenactment of the old buy-in bus and the death of Flanagan, and many of the things that were recorded on their video and photograph were not true. And I told the police, what the f you're doing there? So it never happened like this. I don't have any choice to do as told, just like the Thais. The Thais were shit scared to be shot right there. I mean, Canadian police get shot in Thailand. It's a big thing. And for 2 days, they reenact the whole event, and they took photographs, videotapes, and they conducted the royal inquiry. And on April 7, they came to see me at the prison, and they wanted me to sign a confession, which I did refuse. In Chiang Mai, in Bangkok, I refused to sign any confession. I wrote a small one in broken English, and to the effect that I had been entrapped, and that was the end of it. Suddenly, I ended up being charged for the murder of Flanagan. The Thais also. And when they came on April 7 with the confession all written in Thais, because I'm the only one who did not agree. The Thais were told if they did not sign it as they wanted, they'll be dead meat. Simple as that. In Thailand, they can fix problem pretty quickly when it comes down to that. Are we going to transfer you to another prison and they're going to shoot you between two cities saying that you tried to escape? And that's the thing. I ended up, like I said, accused of Flanagan's murder. I got accused of possession with intent to sell and intention to export heroin out of Thailand. I'm not the one who was buying heroin over there. I'm not the one who was exporting it. This whole operation was financed by the RCMP. It was RCMP money. If there's no RCMP money, there's no operation. But get that, they're the one who paid for my plane ticket. They paid for my plane ticket. They paid for my expenses. And at some point, I was about to be sick in Chiang Mai and I wanted to get some money. And since the deal had not yet worked out, they refused to give me money. So yeah, I had many reasons for wanting that deal to get it over with and things work out, just to make sure that I wouldn't be killed in the end. Because when you live in constant fear for 18 months of these people, and all of a sudden that's the only step missing before being left alone. And then I was sick. I didn't even have the money to get out of the country. I didn't even have the money to take the bus to go down to Bangkok. At that point, I had $5 in my pocket. Actually, I had $4 US, 100 baht. This is what I had in my pocket when they arrested me. And on April 7, this is when they asked me to sign that. And I said, no, I won't contribute to your masquerade. I says, I know that you're lying. And I said, the truth will come out one day. And the cops told me, says, Thai prisons are very dangerous. Not sure if you're going to make it out. And the Canadian government, in their document, they're saying in their document that I wouldn't make it out due to the living conditions inside the prison. We were 8,600 prisoners in a compound that was 80 acres that was divided with a pig farm. After that, all the other places were shops, and that was Bamguan prison. It's one of the most notorious prisons on the planet. And myself, usually, you end up wearing shackles for the first 3 months, but I encountered a few troubles inside the prison with people who tried to test me up, and I ended up wearing my chains longer than I was supposed to. And after that, I jumped on a guard who was beating up a paraplegic guy inside the prison because the guy wasn't working fast enough. The guy is crippled.
Yeah.
You see him to do things. I could tell you stories. I mean, in the sequel of my book, I added a few more. And good luck, Frenchie. You got pretty much the old story of what occurred over there. When you're facing a justice system like in Thailand, first of all, from the start, you're guilty. And while you're inside the prison, you have to prove that you're innocent. I couldn't hire an attorney over there. And in any case, I've seen guys over there losing $200,000-$400,000, giving money to lawyers who didn't even show up at trial after that.
If Glenn Barry is seeing this video, it all stems from this one man's crooked decision. What would you have to say to him?
How can he live with it? With what he's done. I mean, he destroyed lives. Some people were not even into drug dealing in operation. He even got another young guy. He was 19 years old who had a little fish store in Gibson, and he got him to. Do you know a guy who could sell me some coke on the coast? Oh yeah, I can find that for you. And there was no money. Wasn't making any money with that. And he got him busted too. Got another of my friend, a drummer. The guy was using coke, wasn't selling. He was on the boat with Glenn fishing with few musicians, and Glenn asked him, can you find me some coke? I want to make a party. John went to see another guy on the coast, got him a couple ounces of coke, got him busted too. He got 26 person busted on the coast. If I had something to ask, that would be more to the judges if I could talk to them. How could they do that themselves? Because by doing what they did, by ignoring all the evidence about Flanagan's death, they make the court accomplice for the cover-up of the death of the RCMP officer, nothing less than that. And for all your listeners, don't take my word. Go on Alainolivier.ca. Go look at the folder analysis of RCMP Flanagan's death. You're gonna have all the evidence, court record, and everything in these documents. And my testimony is not there. So if someone dare telling me that I'm lying about Flanagan's death, do it. My testimony is not there. It's only RCMP who are talking, not me. And it concerns, like I said, all of you. It's way beyond my own interest at this point. And I hope everyone will learn something from my case.
What were you hoping to accomplish with Good Luck Frenchie when you wanted to write this book? What was your vision?
The day that the confinement was called all throughout Canada for COVID, with the pandemic, about an hour before noon, when they announced the confinement, a truck parked in front of my loft in Montreal and dropped an old pallet of boxes of books on my sidewalk in front of my door. And I was taking the boxes over the second floor, and on TV, they were announcing the confinement. All of a sudden, we had the red carpet for the movie coming up like 2-3 weeks after that. I was preparing for my book launch and everything, and all of a sudden, all the theaters were closed. So instead of being pissed off, we did a small red carpet in Montreal with 50 people at the time. We were supposed to go in London, in Paris, and a whole bunch of places, Venice, and we're supposed to travel all over Europe and many other countries with the movie, and we ended up, the movie was only seen basically on paid TV and an outdoor theater over the summer. So it was big deception again for me to live that, but instead to crawl on my knees and cry, and I just said, well, I'm gonna write another project. And now the project that I'm on that has been accepted, it's much bigger than the movie.
Oh, wow.
Much bigger, and now you're gonna have the whole truth when it comes out, and because I'm not entitled to talk about it for a bunch of reasons, security reasons.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Very political, and instead to be 1 hour, it's 5 hours. You will have the whole thing, and it's been presented, it's been accepted. Now we're only waiting for a streamer to decide if they take it or not. If it's not one, that will be another. But it's a long process. I'll be writing pretty much all summer, all the script with the professional. I'm also writing a teleseries, 36 episodes of 1 hour. I got 8 completed. I got all the material completed, but now I'm doing it with the script, with final draft. And the other thing I forgot to tell you is that when Flanagan got killed in Thailand, when the RCMP got back here at the airport in Vancouver, he was directed to Richmond Funeral Home directly, and he was cremated against the will of the family.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
To hide the gunshot.
Yeah.
Probably, right? So,
and one of them says, no, that's the family who wanted to have him incinerated because the body was too, the body had started rotting in Thailand. And I told the court here, in Thailand, they're not living in the 1800s. Actually, the Buddhists, they know how to keep a body for a while, and they have refrigerators and everything. And so even Flanagan, his wife, she never saw her husband in her casket. She doesn't know. And the RCMP said that he was decomposing and everything. They have refrigerators over there. They know how to take care of a body.
Yeah.
So that was a whole long fight. And the guy who made the movie, Daniel Rabi, the director, he assisted to my trial here against the RCMP for every day. He took notes. And he started to send it, to script the whole movie with me. And just too bad that COVID came by, because otherwise people would have known much more. Same for my book. I'm still stuck with hundreds of books under my bed at home.
Well, hopefully some of our listeners will pick one up Absolutely. I'll put the link for it in the description of this video on our website as well. We'll have the link to your book. And for the listeners, your story was made into the movie Target #1.
Yeah.
How close is that plot line in the movie to your actual story?
It's pretty close. Many things are pretty close. Yeah, I'll say that.
Some names have been changed in
Names
some
have been
instances.
changed because here, just to avoid being sued before the court, we don't have First Amendment like in the United States. Here in Canada, we don't have any protection. We couldn't use the name of the RCMP. We couldn't use a name of CBC and stuff like that. But it's all right. I mean, we managed to work around it. And on the website, all your listeners, if they go see all the pictures, they will see how I live over there. And if anyone in his right mind can tell me and looking at me in the eyes saying that I could have filed suit from Thailand against the RCMP, and more than that, that was the Canadian government who was responsible for my return over here. If I file suit against them to be transferred like I did on the treaty, there is no obligation from the Canadian government. They could leave me there to rot as long as they want.
Yeah.
That's why Victor Malarek came in, and he's the one who started the public inquiry with his article in the Globe and Mail, and after that, with his book, forced the Canadian government to take me back. And he's the one who exposed many of the facts. Except that now the only thing that remains is to show everyone, taxpayers' money, that their money cannot be used to finance operation that will subject a Canadian citizen to the death sentence in a third world country. That doesn't make sense. Just imagine if I already wrote again to the ministers for a public inquiry now with Mendocino, and they haven't replied. It costs me $12 registered letter every time I send them a letter, and they don't even acknowledge receipt of my letter. Because if they agree that the RCMP indeed have lied about Flanagan's death, that means that judges of the court have closed their eyes to it. I'm 63 years old. I'm not even fighting for me. I could come live here up country and forget about everything. But I will never accept to be called a liar when I'm telling the truth, foremost when it comes down from the judge. And if the judge said that they did a complete scrutiny of the evidence and that there was none showing that the RCMP lied, either they closed their eyes voluntarily, and if they did not, it creates an even bigger problem, a problem related to credibility and integrity. We're talking about the death of an officer.
Yeah.
They didn't give a shit about me, the judge and all that. They know Canada is against the death penalty. How can you allow the police force to take someone overseas, for heaven's sakes, and have him sentenced to death over there? And all the evidence that they perjured themselves before the court in Thailand, the judge says, no problem. The murder scenario, no problem. Glenn Barry didn't show up, no problem. Destruction of evidence, no problem. And they called me a liar.
Yeah.
And they said that I tried to mislead the court. So yeah, tell your listeners that this story goes way beyond my own interest. It concerns all of you guys and what kind of justice system you want to give to your kids for generations to come.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Alain, for sharing your story. It is wild. And when you do get that petition, follow up with us and send us that link.
For sure.
Absolutely.
For sure, my friends. And thank you for the invitation. And I will go back in my garden to enjoy that. Look at that.
Nice.
Everyone are welcome to write me through my website. There's a place where they can write me an email, and I'll always answer all my emails. Always, and never mind the questions. Always. Thank you to both of you guys. Very, very nice to have a chance to talk with you and to let other Canadians know about what may happen from time to time here in Canada.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time today, sir. It was greatly appreciated. Thank you so much, Alain.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. You all have a great week, and we'll see you soon. Broken Home Podcast.